Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your Rangers Review morning briefing for Wednesday, the 7th of January. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined this morning by Blair Malloy. How goes it, Blair?
Morning, Derek. Yeah, it seems like a while since I've been on. A frantic week in Scottish football, as always. Seems like we're getting new managers all over the place every single day. And somehow Rangers have managed to find themselves in second place in the table, which I think if you asked anybody at the start of this season, I don't think anybody would have believed that Rangers could get to that point at, the 7th of January. Now very much in the title hunt. Danny Rohl, the job he's done so far is nothing short of remarkable, and the wins just keep rolling on. I think last night we were treated to something that hasn't been too much of the case for Rangers over recent years, and it was just a functional, a solid win that you almost knew was coming. I think a lot of Rangers fans went into that game last night feeling really confident, really eased about what was going to happen, not too stressed at all, and so it came to pass. And another win on the board, chalked up, and we roll on to the next one.
Absolutely. And speaking of new managers, good luck to Neil McCann and Billy Dodds, who were appointed as the new manager and assistant at Kilmarnock yesterday. So hopefully they do a good job there, and don't take any points off Rangers, but take points off Hearts and Celtic. That would do it nicely. But before we crack on, a quick word for our podcast sponsors, Willows Fencing, the Glasgow-based fencing company you can trust and proud partners of the Rangers Review. If you need a new fence, folks, these are the guys to call. They've got over 20 years of experience in the fencing trade. No job is too big or too small. They offer free consultations and 10% off with the code Rangers Review over on their website, which is willows-fencing.com. The all-important details and links are in the description below this video. Right, plenty to get our teeth stuck into. As you say, Blair, good. What I enjoyed last night was routine for Rangers. Now, my only criticism was I wanted one or two more goals in the second half, but you've been picky with regards to that, because the game, albeit Aberdeen did get themselves in some decent positions, you've got to say, but fluffed their lines at points and some good defending from Rangers. But great to see them going in at half-time to the good, and roll on to Sunday now, when I think it'll be a harder test for Rangers going up there to Pittodrie. But it was a big result for Rangers last night, because it moves them to within 3 points of league leaders Hearts, 3 ahead of Celtic, albeit the pair of them have a game in hand, but you'd rather have the points on the board. Been 2 set-piece goals, Blair. Scott Fry earning his crust at this point in time, and Connor Barron, who myself and Johnny criticised for his set-piece delivery at the weekend on the show yesterday. He must have been watching and practising his corners, because 2 assists last night and 2 great headers from Nico and from Manny Fernandez.
Yeah, like you said, Derek, there's a whole lot to unpack there. Let's start off with Connor Barron. Johnny took the hit for all of us, I think, when he actually said what was being discussed in the group chat, that Connor Barron was getting a bit of stick in that first half against Celtic on Saturday. And I think it was rightly so. I think his delivery on Saturday wasn't the best. I think he struggled a bit in that first half, as did all the Rangers players, though. Let's say that. I don't think he was the only one. I remember there was a corner on Saturday that he hit right along the ground, and you're thinking, why is that not going in? But the second half on Saturday, and then the full 90 minutes last night, I think was really excellent from Connor Barron. I thought he really started to show the player that Rangers thought they were signing from Aberdeen, and the player with all that potential, the under-21 Scotland international, the guy that keeps getting called up to Steve Clarke's squads, the guy that Aberdeen were starting to build their team around. I think that he's starting to show that a little bit now in this Rangers team. And I always thought it was interesting that any time Barry Ferguson was asked about him, after his interim spell, anytime in the last 6 months, he's always spoke really highly of Connor Barron. He's always said he's technically really a great player. He gets about the pitch well, and a lot of Rangers fans were still critical of Barron, even coming into this season. Throughout this season, I know a lot of fans that have been critical of Connor Barron's performances, but excuse me, I think over the last few games, he's really starting to show what he's made of. And it's actually sparked this interesting debate now over the January transfer window, because people are saying, okay, the whole focus of January was sign a number 6, get a number 6 in, because Joe Rothwell obviously out of the picture at the minute. What his future lies, we're not 100% sure, but everyone was saying Rangers absolutely need this holding midfielder to dictate the play. Now people are maybe starting to think a little bit differently and go, is Connor Barron the number 6? Is he the man that you want to be sitting in there and can lead Rangers on? Now, I do still have my doubts about that a little bit. I don't know. I know he's had a couple of good games, but is the consistency there? Can he continue to produce these performances? We don't know. But people are now starting to look at that going, maybe the number 6 position has sorted itself out, and maybe you should look forward and maybe try and get a number 8, maybe someone who's a bit more box to box, can maybe link the play going forward a little bit more. Because as good as Nico Raskin has been at that, I always think there's always room for more attacking minded players to knit the attack and midfield, which I think Rangers have been missing a little bit. But that's not to take anything away from Connor Barron thus far. I thought last night he was excellent. I thought it was probably spurred on a little bit as well by the fact he was playing his old side. He just looked as though he was absolutely desperate for a goal. Every time he got the ball, he was taking a dig on from 25 yards. So yeah, long may it continue for Connor Barron, and I really hope this is maybe the start of him fulfilling a bit of his potential.
Yeah, he covers every blade of grass. You know what you're going to get with Connor Barron. The only thing he needs to work on is his finesse. For me, if sometimes he gets into good positions with regards to trying to get shots away, and it's not quite there. So hopefully he can work on that. But yeah, I've been very impressed by him. He was my man of the match last night. I know he got it from Sky. I know that sponsors man of the match gave it to Nico Raskin, who was also good. I've got to say he started to pick up a bit of form, which can only be a good thing for Rangers at this point in time. Interestingly, Danny Rohl was asked about Nico in the post-match press conference and about his future, whether he wants to see him stay at Rangers long term and about potentially extending his contract. He said, from my side, I'm very clear. He's a key player. He gives us structure with the ball. He's very aggressive against the ball. He can score at the set play. He was a leader. I think 10 weeks ago we were asking for leaders. I think he stepped more and more in this direction. I see a good development for me, no question. So Daniel Rohl, big fan of Nico Raskin. That's more like it, Blair, isn't it? Rangers need him fit and firing if they want to win shiny things come the end of the season.
Well, we've said for a long time, Derek, that Nico Raskin has the ability to be the best player at Rangers and the best player in this division if he really wants to be. And we've just not seen it enough from Nico Raskin over the last year or so. There was obviously the whole period at the start of this season when, let's say, Joe Rothwell came in, and it really looked as though it was between Raskin and Rothwell for that holding midfield role, and he was frozen out of the team. Obviously, all the going-ons with Russell Martin, but now he's managed to come back in. He's managed to cement himself in that team, and he is at times starting to look like a bit of a leader. And starting to look like one of the big names on that team sheet that's really going to step up for you. Now, let's not pretend that everything in the garden is rosy all the time. Yes, Rangers are on a good run at the minute, but I don't want to be the harbinger of doom. But you look back at that first half at Celtic Park, Nico Raskin for that Yang goal is very poor for me. So there's still a lot to his game that I think he can work on. I think he can bring up. But he's definitely starting to show the kind of performances that we know he can put in, especially when he goes away in international duty. And I think he, for me, has always been the case of he's a player who will look better with better players round about him. I think that if you bring more quality into the team, I think that Nico Raskin starts to become a bit more comfortable. I think you look at the way his games have improved, almost in line with the Mikey Moore improving, because Mikey Moore, I think, is top level. I think he's really top quality. And I think when you bring players like that into the team and they start producing at a higher level, I think Nico Raskin raises his game like he does on the international stage. I think he would do that for Rangers as well. So I'd quite like to see Raskin complemented with more players round about him. I tweeted this out last night after the game. I said that it's absolutely essential now that Danny Rohl gets backed in January. I think he's definitely earned the trust to be given the tools he needs for this title tilt. So I think that definitely putting better players next to Nico Raskin will only help bring his game out. as far as talking about his future, that's an interesting little digression, a little side point, because he's one of those players that you're thinking, okay, if he gets up to the level that we think he can get to, Rangers should be thinking about making a big profit on him, because that is the model that Rangers are following. That is the model that Rangers should be following in my eyes. And if Nico Raskin wins Rangers a league championship, wins Rangers a cup, and he puts in really good performances between now and the end of the season, has a good World Cup with Belgium, and someone comes in with a whole lot of money for him, I think you need to be confident enough to go, look, he's played well for us, he's been up and down, he's eventually got a title over the line, but here's a lot of money for this boy, and we back ourselves to go and replace him. I don't think, I've said this for a long time as well, I don't think anybody at Rangers is ever irreplaceable, especially not now. So we can just hope that for the next 6 months, he really ups his game with that World Cup in mind, and I think everybody watching will be hoping that that is a key factor in taking Rangers over the line to a title.
He goes on. Wins the league title, wins the Scottish Cup, wins the World Cup with Belgium, and Rangers sell him for £75 million. I think that is the ideal scenario, Blair.
We don't ask for much, Derek. We don't ask for much.
A few points coming in. Barry Nate Loyal and a few others saying what's with the ads. I know I've getting a lot of comments in recent days about this. Unfortunately, folks, it's nothing to do with ourselves here at the channel. We've not changed any settings. It's YouTube. They've began a real push to get folk to sign up to their YouTube premium. So they want folk to pay for YouTube basically, and they're sticking a whole load of ads on our live stream. So we can only apologise if it's disrupting your enjoyment of the show. But it's nothing that we've changed from our end. A few other points. This is an interesting one. Just deviating from the positive news from last night, Blair, Richie Boy, and I noticed a few last night were mentioning Jedi Gassama. Says, can we start asking questions about Gassama? He's been very, very poor. A little bit off the boil. I mean, when he came in initially, we're all thinking, wow, this boy's the real deal. After that goal against Panathinaikos, a goal away against Panathinaikos, and he looked really, really good in what was a bit of a mess of a Rangers team. He's been moved from the left to the right-hand side. Sometimes often his decision-making lets him down at points. He looks like someone that's not playing full of confidence at this point in time. Now, he is a winger. Historically, wingers get blow hot and cold at points. I still think he's a top player. It's just something to expect, I guess. But should fans be expecting a wee bit more from him at this point?
I think there's the main point about Gassama for me is I think there's 2 points. There's obviously ability in there because we've seen it at the start of the season. He has a lot of technical ability, and I actually think he looks really good coming off the bench. I think that when there's a lot of space for him to attack and when the game is maybe slowed down a little bit, you introduce Jedi Gassama into that, and I think he looks really good. I'll go back to that goal he scored against Sturm Graz, I believe it was, in Europe in that 3-1 loss that night. I'll say, in different circumstances, that goes down as one of the best Rangers goals ever because it was absolutely unbelievable. But it's one of those ones that nobody talks about because it was a disappointing night and people just want to put it out their heads. But you look at Panathinaikos, goals like that, and it really starts with a bang, and you think, oh, this guy's the real deal. This guy's going to be the saviour for the season. He's going to be the one that's really going to kick Rangers on. But like you said, with wingers, they can be a bit hot and cold. They can dip in and out of games, and maybe he's just having a little bit of that period of time where he's not quite at his peak of his abilities. The real debate comes with what side do you play him on. Now, he's obviously been switched between the right and the left. I think I prefer him on the left. I think he looks so much more natural on the left. I think he likes to attack space on the left because he likes to go inside. And I think he just looks more comfortable when he's playing out there. But I think that he is maybe suffering a little bit from having so much trust from the manager. Obviously, they've worked together before. I think Danny Rill's looking at Jedi Gassama going, look, I know you can do a job for me wherever I put you. So can you just help me out right now until I get the players that I need? And then we can start making this about you again. Because right now, Jedi Gassama is filling in where Rangers need legs, where they need a bit of creativity. He's filling in that right wing-back role. He's moving on to the right when Rangers need it because Mikey Moore's looked pretty good off the left as well. So I think that, again, when there is some new bodies brought in, when Danny Rohl starts to shape this squad in his own image, I think then you'll start to see Jeddy Gassama find a more settled role, find a more settled place in the team, and maybe not been moved about as much. Because I agree with a lot of people in the comments. I think he's wasted a little bit on the right hand side, and I think
Yeah.
he's just doing a job for the team, which maybe they need right now. Maybe Danny Rowe just needs somebody to go in there and help him out. But I think if you can get him consistently on the left, either off the bench or from the start, I think then you can start. You'll start seeing the best of him and what we've seen at the start of the season.
Well, just on that right-hand side, it's our understanding, folks, that Oliver Antman is nearing a return. You may have seen him in the training video recently, the training pictures that the Rangers posted. He's back training, and he'll be returning to action soon. Now, we all know he was off the boil and then some before he picked up his injury. Was it against Braga he hobbled off, if I'm not mistaken, or was it against Falkirk? Can't quite remember. One of those games. I lose track of the games, but yeah, he's been out for a good few weeks now, so he will be providing another option out on that right-hand side for Danny Rohl. A few points as well coming in about, I never touched on it last night when I was on with Joshua Blair, but Dayton Life says, massive 3 points. Ref was shocking last night, in my opinion. Nick Walsh seen coming in for a bit of criticism. I think it was an Aberdeen player that was booked despite some yellow card worthy fouls last night. He's just, listen, don't want to go two-footed on him. He's just not a good referee. I don't think there's any real top quality referees in Scotland, unfortunately. He's just one of a long list of substandard officials, unfortunately, and that's the way it is. Your thoughts on Nick Walsh last night?
Yeah, I think it was a game with a few tackles in it that you're thinking, oh, maybe we'd have got the yellow card out for that. But
Yeah.
like you said, it's not something that's new to Scottish football. I think that we always have complaints about refereeing, and I think I've said this before, that I think that until there is real desire for widespread change and widespread wanting to make referees better and improvement, then I don't think it really is going to change. So I think that the key thing is to just keep getting these wins ticking over, no matter how the game is. You need to play the game that's in front of you. If that's a physical game, if that's one that's going to get a few tackles in that are going to go unpunished, I think you just need to deal with that. And I think to spin that in a positive perspective for Rangers, it does look as though that they're able to deal with that now. It does look as though they're able to deal with what's in front of them and stand up to it. I think that's maybe the biggest compliment that I could give to Danny Rowe. He's turned this team that looked so lightweight and so brittle into something that looks as though they're ready for a bit of a fight. Now, don't get me wrong. I know there is still massive, massive holes like a sieve in that defence at times. I know sometimes that teams can just walk through Rangers. I'm aware of that. I've seen it last night, seen it against Celtic. On another day, Rangers conceded 4 or 5 goals over those 2 games. But
Yeah.
I think that what he has done is brought a bit of dig back into this team and really just got these performances over the line where you just come away with a 2-0. You just come away with a win and you move on. You don't need to overanalyse it. You don't need to think about it too much. You put it to the back of your head and you go, right, okay, we've got another game in 3 days. Let's go and win that one. It's really interesting the way that Chris, I was watching on TV last night. Obviously, Josh and Chris were at the game. The way Chris Boyd spoke about it very, very quickly after the full-time whistle, he was posed the question, great win for Danny Rohl, another one, Rangers up to second, and he was just very blunt about it. He just said, yep, that's what's expected, on to the next one.
Yeah.
And that is the mentality that Walter Smith would have adopted, the mentality that all successful Rangers managers will have drilled into their team, going, you've won nothing yet. The second place is nothing. Yes, you've done very well. There were 6 when Danny Rowe came in. He's taken them up to second, now above Celtic for the first time in 500 odd days, I believe. Obviously, the two Hearts and Celtic have got games in hand. But second is still nowhere, and we're still only on the 7th of January. There's a lot of football to be played, still half a season to go, and who knows where we're going to end up come the end of it. But
Yep.
if they can just keep this momentum rolling on, if they can just keep this winning mentality and just thinking, okay, on to the next one, on to the next one. Let's not get too high, let's not get too low, because there will be low points. Rangers aren't going to win every game between now and the end of the season. That's a statistical anomaly. It's not going to happen. But what will happen is if Rangers can continue to bounce back and continue some sort of forward momentum, then they could be onto something.
Yeah, and it's just winning football matches at this point in time. Don't care how they come. Remember back in the Russell Martin era, and he infamously said that we want to win in a certain way. Rangers fans don't give a jot about that. They just want to get 3 points and get points on the board. As long as they're holding aloft league titles, then nobody cares. And so, yeah, Danny Rohl certainly is a pragmatic coach, and he's doing a wonderful job so far. Point came in here. I wanted to address this because Chris asked him about this in the post-match press conference. Neil says, you think Curtis and Cameron will be loaned to Killie? So Chris asked Danny Rohl, obviously no Curtis or Cameron in the squad last night. Will they be at Rangers by the end of the window? And are you hopeful of adding anyone into the squad before the weekend? He says, we're in the process. We're working on this. I cannot tell who's in the squad by the end of the window. I think especially with young players, it's about getting minutes and development. And then we have to make good decisions. What is best for some players? It makes no sense to keep them and they get not minutes. I think this is crucial. For me, it's always about performance on the pitch during the game, but also during the week. How is the training performance to get minutes? And you can see at the moment, it's also not easy to come into the squad because some players that ride the push the last 2 days after the big win, the players are on the bench, they're on the front foot, they try and they want to be part of the train at the moment. And you have to be on the front foot. Otherwise, we leave the train station without some players. And this is tough. We need a challenge. We need a strong squad. And I think this is also important for me. When we make subs, we have to be better, that we get impacts. And I think this is also what we agree with the board, with the club. We know what we want to do, but what we don't know is if we can do everything we want, but we are trying. So lots to unpack from that, Blair. Interestingly mentioned the bench. It's weak. I don't want to see Matondo and Dowell on there, to be honest. I want to see better quality on there. And he's not the only one. I know some of the boys came off the bench last night, but the Rangers starting 11 is decent enough. Still think it needs some improvement in there, but the bench certainly, you want better options. And as Daniel quite rightly points out, you want players to come off the bench and make better impacts than what is currently happening. On Cameron and Curtis, I think the writing is on the wall for the pair of them. I think loan moves would benefit the pair. Whether that's Kilmarnock or wherever, I'm not entirely sure, but they need to be playing football matches. It's no point sitting in the stand. They'll be itching to be on the park. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think when I seen Neil McCann and Billy Dodds getting announced yesterday, it was a little bit of putting two and two together and getting five, thinking that automatically it just looks like, well, that seems like a logical thing to happen. But we all know Scottish football, the logical thing very rarely happens. We'll take one at a time. Lyle Cameron to begin with. I liked Lyle Cameron when he was at Dundee. I thought that he was a good signing for Rangers. I know that maybe some who came in the new regime weren't particularly keen on keeping that deal afloat because it had been agreed in the January. So he did eventually come in. He was given a bit of a chance at the start of the season, and I thought he did well at the start of the season. I thought he added a bit of energy into the midfield. But since Danny Rohl has came in, it's quite obvious that he's not really for him. For one reason or another, he's just went, look, this guy is not really going to get minutes under me. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes a player just doesn't fit a manager, doesn't offer what the manager needs, and you just need to make your peace with it. It is what it is. So I think that Danny Rohl has done well enough that we have to trust him, that we have to say, okay, if you don't think that Lyle Cameron is what you need, then we have to get in the people that you think you need. Albeit people like Lyle Cameron, I get that. I understand that he's young, he's Scottish, he's dynamic. But if Danny Rohl says, I don't fancy this boy, we have to go along with that. We can't just get out the players that the fans don't like. That doesn't work like that. You know what I mean? You have to also go with the manager. You have to also trust what the manager says and go, right, okay, maybe let's make a bit of a to and fro here, a bit of a sacrifice and go, right, he has to be out the door. So I think that loan minutes would help him out. Whether he has a long-term future at Rangers, I don't know. But I think that there would certainly be a clamour from other top flight clubs to take Lyle Cameron on loan because I think he's a player that has a good reputation at Dundee. I don't think the first 6 months of this season will have really done his reputation a lot of harm because I think a lot of clubs will still look at him and go, this boy's a really good player and he can definitely offer something. So I wouldn't be surprised to see most of the teams in the bottom six at least coming in looking at Lyle Cameron to beef up their midfield. For the end of the season. So, and I do think that him playing maybe 20 games between now and June will only help him, whether that's at Rangers or anywhere else. I think if you look at Finlay Curtis now, that is a bit more of an interesting point, because I think you ask most Rangers fans and they want to see Finlay Curtis in the team. They want to see Finlay Curtis being given a chance because of what he's done at the start of the season, because scoring that goal against Panathinaikos, scoring that goal against St Mirren, he showed little glimpses of what he can be. And Rangers fans have, for many, many years, have been desperate for a homegrown talent to be part of the squad, to be part of the first team that they can latch on to, they can attach themselves to, and really feel like they've got one of their own in that team there. When things are maybe not going so well, they can look at him and go, he knows what it's all about. He can drag these boys up when things are maybe going against them a little bit. So there is obviously a reticence from Rangers fans to see him go out the door. But then you also have to put that alongside, again, what I said a minute ago, Danny Rohl's judgment. Danny Rohl is looking at Finlay Curtis and he's going, can I fit you in this side consistently that's good enough for your own development? You look at Mikey Moore, right? See where they are right now. I think Mikey Moore is better than Finlay Curtis. I don't think that is a ridiculous thing to say. And I think that Mikey Moore is going to get the minutes ahead of Finlay Curtis. So if you want Curtis to sit on the bench and be a bit part player, sure, keep him there and bring him on for the last 10 minutes of games. Does that make him a better player? I don't think so. I don't think that really shapes him into the individual that Rangers want. What would shape him into that is like a Cameron going out for the second half of the season, playing 20 odd games, getting a few goals under his belt, going through difficult games, going through good games, being a winner, being a loser, all of that shaping him into the player that I think Rangers want him to be, and then coming back and ready to fight for that place next year. Mikey Moore's back down at Spurs. You've got a gap on that left-hand side. Finlay Curtis has got a bit of experience in the top division and goes, okay, I'm ready to take this place. I mean, you look at guys like, we did it to Charlie Adam. Remember Charlie Adam went on loan to St Mirren, came back and looked like a really good player, and he wasn't ready to play for Rangers before, but he came back and all of a sudden you're like, right, okay, this is a boy who can now get in and around the side. And I think it's such an underutilised thing to send a young player who you've got a lot of hope for, send him out on loan and actually go and let him play football, let him develop. I said this in a podcast a few months ago. It seems that loans now in Scotland are just reserved for players that you're trying to ship out the door. No one uses loans positively anymore. Actually try and use the loan to your advantage. Go and put him somewhere where he can actually make a bit of a difference. And you don't know if Finlay Curtis is that good. Maybe he goes and signs for Kilmarnock and he takes points off Celtic and Hearts, and then it helps Rangers in the long run. So I wouldn't be too disappointed to see him go out the door, but I do understand why Rangers fans wouldn't be massively comfortable or wouldn't be celebrating the fact that Finlay Curtis has left the club.
Yeah. Dam says, send Cameron back to Dundee and don't pay the tribunal. Of course, that's coming up. That would solve that, I'd imagine, if that was the case. I think Cameron can do a job, and Curtis, incidentally, for the vast majority of teams in the Scottish Premiership. I've said it before, I would prefer the pair of them to play down in the lower leagues in England. It's just a better quality of football, and moving away, certainly a pair of them are young lads moving away from home. I think they would do a lot more developing if they moved down there, but probably more likely a Premiership move is the avenue that they will go down. Sniper and many others saying, any news on incomings? Derek, of course, as we heard there, Danny Rohl hopeful of a bit of movement come the end of the week. Player that emerged yesterday is Celeste Anderson, midfielder from Hacken. Now, I know spoke to Anderson's representative from his side, and he did meet with Rangers back early November time. So it is a player that's been on the radar for quite some time, back when Kevin Thelwell was at the helm. So it's clearly someone that Rangers like, and I was told that he's a box-to-box midfielder, can play as a 6 and as an 8. Big strapping lad, physicality, can get up and down the pitch. Certainly fits the profile of a player that we just touched on there, player that Rangers should be looking to bring in. I like the sound of him. Now, the thing with the guy is, Hacken's season has now ended. I think Rangers should be looking more in the Scandinavian market, and certainly for January time, it makes sense to bring these boys in pretty sharpish, because they don't have any games to consider. I know Hacken are in the Conference League, but that's finished now. I think they've finished way low down in that competition. Go and get them is what I would say to Andrew Kavanagh if they are available. I think the need is urgent for Rangers to bring quality in. You don't want to be ticking off the games and think, if Rangers slip up in one of these games, the fans are going to be pointing towards a lack of signings here. Just go and bring the quality in and give yourselves a real chance of winning that league title.
Did you see that video of Silas Anderson doing the rounds on Twitter? He looks like a tasty character. Yes. I think Rangers fans seen that and went, "Yeah, we'll have a bit of that. We'll absolutely have a bit of that." I think that's what.
We'll love a madman.
Oh, absolutely. I think all Rangers teams are built around one somewhere in the side. I think, like, joking aside, I think that character is probably needed at the club. I think it's always helpful to have that bit of that little bit of eccentricity, shall we say, especially when it comes to making your mark in Scottish football. There is reports he's obviously going to cost a little bit of money, so we don't know where we stand on that. But from what I've seen, in the rough clips that I've seen of him, he certainly looks like a player that Rangers should be targeting. He's got the profile of a player that Rangers should be targeting. And like you said, those Scandinavian markets, the way the season shapes up, it does seem to it seems to make sense that Rangers would go and try and dip into that market when their season is finished.
Yep.
So yeah, I would definitely agree with you. I think that Danny Rohl has been at pains to keep stressing that they are trying their best. They're working hard to get players over the line. I'm not as concerned about the speed of which transfers get done than maybe others are, but what I am concerned about is if you're bringing guys in, they absolutely have to be of quality. They have to be. There's no point in signing 5 guys and 2 of them are any good. That's just not going to cut it this January. See if Rangers make 2 signings and they're both brilliant, that will do. I don't want to see a whole gluttony of guys come in just for the sake of it. And
what
3 of them
positions then, Blair? You've got 2 players to bring in. What positions for you?
I think you need another centre midfielder, either in an 8 or a 6.
Yep.
And I think you need another winger. I think those are if I'm getting 2, I'll take those 2. I'll take my chances at left back. And I hope that Chinmiti comes on even more of a game. But I think you need another one in midfield, and I think you need another winger. And maybe that's my next on top of that list, by the way, would be left back. I know left back is pressing, and you hope that Jaden McGowan doesn't get injured. But I would very much like to see quality over quantity in this window, and just make sure that the guys who are coming in are ready to make an impact, because you're not going to get 2 or 3 months to make an impact here. You're not going to get that now. These have to be guys that are going to come in and essentially push you over the line towards this title, because that is what Rangers need. That's what Rangers fans expect. And no matter who that is, they have to be guys that can come in from day one and go, "You look great," and that's what they need.
Yeah, well, Nasser Jig will be coming back soon. He'll be like a new signing. Hasn't played a second of Burkina Faso's African Cup of Nations campaign. They were knocked out last night by Ivory Coast. So yeah, he'll be coming back feeling refreshed and staking a claim for the team on Sunday. In all seriousness, I think Fernandes and Suter, it's their jerseys to lose at this point in time. So it will be interesting to see if...
Just a word on Big Fernandes before we go. Another goal. He's proving to be something of the goal machine from centre-half. I know we were all very critical of him at the start of the season. Maybe not so much actually of him, just more so the fact that he cost so much money and we weren't seeing him and he wasn't really given a chance. But now that he's come into the team, and don't get me wrong, he does have a mistake in him. Sometimes he does make the odd rash decision. I get that. But there is something really, really likeable about him, which has not been the case of Rangers players in the past, and something that you really, really want to get behind. And I just think the way he contributes in both boxes, I really want to give him a chance, and I really, really want him to succeed. He's got that sort of likability that Cyril Dessers had, that even when it wasn't going well, you really want him to do well, just because he comes across as a lovely guy. So yeah, I thought another great performance of Fernandes, and he might hit double figures this year the way he's going.
That's what I said last night. Yeah, I wouldn't put it past him that he'd do that. His goal record is really good so far, and I've also been enjoying his brother's been coming up watching Rangers games and posting little TikToks as well, and he's very much enjoying. He was in the away end at the weekend at Parkhead. I'm sure he was at the game last night. So yeah, he's certainly someone that is loving life at Rangers at this point in time, and long may it continue. Before we wrap up, I've got a little thing that I was sent yesterday, folks. Those of you that like to collect Rangers memorabilia. Then a chap got in touch, viewer of the show yesterday. He was cleaning out his grandfather's loft, and he's got lots of Rangers programmes from the 80s, early 90s. He says he's got around 1,000 old tickets from loads of great games in the 80s, early 90s. Season ticket books, hats, flags, scarves, and even two pairs of these old Rangers shorts. Look at these. These are from the 80s. Umbro Rangers shorts. I'm told they're a 32 waist. So if you fancy donning these, maybe on holiday or walking about your house, kidding on your Ali McCoist or whatever, then please do get in touch. I'll give you his Instagram username, folks. It is Alexander Ruin. His username is Xander Roo. So that's ZANDERROO87. So if you want to get in touch with Xander, if you want to take some of those, the shorts maybe, and the programmes, the season tickets, the flags, all that sort of stuff. If you want to take that off Xander's hands, then do please get in touch with him. Lots of comments coming in saying that shorts, they absolutely are. Would you be wearing them at any point, Blair?
I don't think anybody wants to see that, Derek. I'll be honest. I don't think any of the viewers are subscribing to see me in those shorts. I know my place. It's not that. Don't get me wrong.
Stuart says Alan Partridge shorts. You've popped out again. I think that may happen if you pop those on. But there we go. We'll wrap up there for now, folks. A big thank you to Blair as ever. Thank you to you all for tuning in to the show. Very much appreciated, and for your support as well. Remember, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. It helps us here at the channel. And a heads up, we've got a Nico Raskin embargoed press conference that will be with you over on the YouTube channel at 12 noon. So plenty of Ranger stuff to come your way. If we don't speak to you, then enjoy your Wednesday, and we'll chat again soon. Bye for now.